Welcome to another amazing episode of our movie. Trust me, you are going to love this one, I bet you. At the end of the movie, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to get more of our latest releases. Just relax and enjoy. The movie begins with Osang, a gateman sleeping on duty, leaving the gate open. His boss's girlfriend comes in and shouts at him for leaving the gate open, threatening to fire him. She orders him to quickly open the gate for his boss, and after he does so, the reprimanding continues. They go inside and call Osang in. His boss warns him not to leave the gate open again, or he will lose his job. Osang apologizes, but the girlfriend is not pleased and insists that his boss fire him. However, the boss spares Osang and he leaves. Meanwhile, Osang's girlfriend, Huyai, who is in the village, calls him. They talk romantically, and she asks when he is coming to take her to Lagos. Osang pleads with her to give him a little more time, assuring her that everything will be set soon. She complains that she is tired of staying in the village, but ends the call with a smile. Osang, deep in thought, reminisces about their romantic moments in the village and wishes to see her soon. His boss's girlfriend interrupts his thoughts by shouting his name, which jolts him back to reality. She stares at him in disgust and asks him to come with her. The next day, Osang's boss, Clinton, wakes up and goes to the kitchen, hungry. He checks what's available, but it's food that his girlfriend cooked. Knowing that she isn't a good cook, he panics, saying, "Bonita will not mess up my stomach." At that moment, Osang comes in, also looking for something to eat. Clinton asks him to come back later when the food is ready, and Osang leaves. After a while, Osang returns while they're at the dining table. He tastes the food and immediately spits it out, complaining that it's awful. Clinton's girlfriend, Bonita, also tastes the food but insists it isn't that bad, walking out on them angrily. Osang excuses himself, saying he's already full from the bread he ate outside, and runs off. Later, Clinton goes outside and finds Osang still spitting and washing his mouth. He asks why Osang is overreacting and tells him to stop. Then, Clinton instructs him to put up a notice board for a chef vacancy. Osang is surprised but excited and immediately tells Clinton that he knows someone who can cook very well and won't disappoint. Clinton tells him to bring the person in the next morning, and Osang is overjoyed. He knows he'll bring Uei to Lagos. That day, Osang calls Uei to share the good news, and she is thrilled. She quickly prepares to leave the village, and Osang feels fulfilled. The next morning, while cleaning the compound, Osang gets a call from who tells him she's already in Lagos and where to meet her. He rushes to her location, and when they meet, he gives her a big hug, showing how much he's missed her. Uei is excited to be in Lagos, and they leave together. When they arrive at the house, Uei is amazed at the kind of house Osang is working in. She admires everything, including the cars. Clinton overhears the noise and comes out, asking Osang who Uei is. Uei quickly introduces herself, but when she's about to mention that she's Osang's girlfriend, he interrupts her, saying they're just friends from the village. He doesn't want his boss to know, fearing they'll be chased out. Clinton asks them to come inside and leaves. Inside, Clinton asks again about Uei and Osang's relationship. Uei tries to reveal the truth, but Osang stops her, saying they're just good friends. Clinton then tells Uei that if she can impress him with her cooking, she'll get the job. Uei confidently agrees, and Clinton asks Osang to show her to her room. Once in her room, Osang pleads with Uei not to reveal their relationship, explaining that his boss will fire them both if he finds out. Uei understands and agrees to keep it a secret. Later, Uei prepares a meal for Clinton. While setting the dining table, Clinton is distracted, staring at her body. His girlfriend, Bonita, notices but decides not to say anything. After Uei finishes, she calls them to eat. Clinton tastes the food and is amazed. Finally, something delicious. He immediately gives Uei the job and she's overjoyed. Osang rushes to hug her, but Clinton stops them, warning them never to do that again. They apologize. Seeing this, Bonita angrily storms off without eating. After finishing his meal, Clinton goes inside and tries to talk to Bonita about what's going on, but Bonita bursts out. In tears, Bonita told Clinton that she saw him staring at Uei's backside, completely distracted. Clinton quickly tried to defend himself, saying he wasn't really staring and was probably just lost in thought, which made his eyes get stuck on that spot. Lost in thought, huh? Bonita didn't believe him and kept crying. She insisted they needed to hire a new cook because she saw UEI as a threat. But Clinton disagreed, explaining that UEI was already hired and couldn't possibly be a threat to her, especially since her English wasn't even that great. This annoyed Bonita, and she grabbed her bag, ready to leave. Crying, she was about to walk out when Clinton held her back, begging her not to go. She finally calmed down and agreed to stay, and Clinton gave her a comforting hug. Later that night, UEI went to Osang's room, where he was upset that his boss had been staring at her. She apologized, but Osang suggested she return to the village to avoid any trouble. UEI refused, and Osang stayed angry. She tried to cheer him up, asking him to be close to her because she was feeling romantic, but Osang wasn't in the mood. He asked her to go back to her room so the boss wouldn't find her there, and she left, feeling frustrated. The next morning, UEI was clearing the dishes at breakfast when she asked her boss if the food was okay, and he said it was. As she walked away, Clinton called her back and told her she needed more clothes, offering to buy her some. He also asked her to check around the house for things they needed so he could give her money to go shopping. UEI nodded and left, but Clinton couldn't help but watch her walk away, distracted by her once again. Later that day, UEI entered Clinton's room and admired how beautiful it was. Clinton asked if she had figured out what she needed to buy, and when she said yes, he gave her 100,000 naira. UEI was shocked, having never held that much money before. She even nervously asked for a face mask, which made them both laugh. Later in the kitchen, UEI struggled with the gas stove, thinking it was broken because she had never used that type before. Osang came in, playfully tickling her from behind, which startled her, but she ended up smiling. She joked that she thought it was the boss, which made Osang a bit jealous. He asked why she would even think that, and they laughed it off. Then she showed him the stove, saying it wasn't working, and Osang didn't know how to use it either. Worried, UEI suddenly had an idea and told Osang to get her some kerosene. He was puzzled but rushed off to get it. It turned out that they were using firewood to cook, which was quite old school. Let's hope their boss doesn't catch them. Not long after, Clinton arrived and was shocked to see them cooking with firewood. He shouted, asking if they wanted to burn down the house. UEI quickly explained that the stove wasn't working, which was why they used firewood. She even joked that food cooked over firewood tasted better. Clinton, amused, took her hand and asked Osang to bring a bag from his car. He then led UEI to the kitchen, leaving Osang feeling a bit jealous. In the kitchen, Clinton turned on the stove, surprising UEI. She couldn't believe it had worked all along. Osang entered the kitchen with the bag, and Clinton took UEI's hand again, asking Osang to follow them. This time, Osang was really upset and signaled UEI to pull her hand away, which she did. When they reached the living room, Clinton handed the bag to UEI and asked her to check it out. Inside, she found beautiful clothes, shoes, and hair accessories. She thought Clinton's girlfriend must be so lucky. But to her shock, Clinton told her the items were for her. UEI was thrilled, but Osang wasn't so happy. He tried to tell Clinton that UEI didn't like receiving gifts, but UEI quickly disagreed, thanking her boss with a big smile before leaving happily. Later that night, UEI brought dinner to Osang's room, but he refused to eat. He told her to give it to Clinton instead, still upset that she accepted the gifts. UEI explained that Clinton was just being nice, but Osang didn't buy it. He pointed out that Clinton had never given him a gift before. Osang then told UEI that their boss had feelings for her, but UEI was shocked, saying Clinton already had a girlfriend, and she wasn't even as good as his girlfriend. Osang advised UEI to focus on her work, promising to give her money so she could save up. He told her that once she had enough, she could open a shop for herself, but warned her not to ask him for money in the meantime. So that Clinton wouldn't start taking advantage of her, UEI agreed to focus on her work. She playfully asked Osang to come eat his food, even teasing him by saying he could choose between her or the meal. Such a romantic gesture. After a while, she took the plate that Osang had eaten from. As she was walking, Clinton approached her from behind, asking where she was coming from, which startled her. She dropped the plate, and it shattered, cutting her hand. Clinton immediately helped her, cleaning her wound and applying ointment in the living room. Clinton then asked where she was coming from, and she explained that she had brought food to Osang and waited for him to finish so she could return the plate. Clinton warned her not to wait next time and to leave right after serving the food. He also asked what her relationship with Osang was, and Uei replied that they were just friends from the village, to which Clinton responded, "Good." He then pulled out a sum of 100,000 naira and gave it to her. At first, Uei thought the money was meant for someone else, but Clinton assured her it was for her. She was thrilled and joked that maybe she should get injured more often if it meant receiving money. They both laughed, and she knelt to thank him. Clinton asked her to stand up and helped her to her feet, but just then, his girlfriend, Bonita, walked in. Seeing them close together, she became furious. She stormed over and slapped Uei, who held her face in tears and ran out. Bonita then yelled at Clinton, accusing him of fooling around behind her back. It seemed she had misinterpreted the situation. She continued shouting, and Clinton, clearly upset, told her she had left the house at 5 a.m. just because he refused to give her the 500,000 she had asked for. Now she was back, slapping the cook. Furious, Clinton threw her out and told her never to return. Bonita, panicked, asked if he was choosing that local rat over her, then stormed out. Meanwhile, Osang, who was inside checking his betting papers, heard Uei's voice. He rushed out, and Uei explained that Clinton's girlfriend had slapped her. Osang was enraged and wanted to confront Bonita, but Uei stopped him. Just then, Bonita came out, and Uei hid behind Osang as Bonita glared at her like she wanted to hit her again. Clinton came out and told Bonita to leave, locking the gate behind her. Uei quickly ran inside, still holding her cheek, while Clinton also went inside, leaving Osang feeling very uneasy. Later that day, Clinton was sitting in the living room when Uei brought him the change from her shopping trip. Clinton was surprised. It's rare to see someone so honest. He remembered how his girlfriend never appreciated anything and always complained about the money being too little. Impressed, he told Uei to keep the change for herself, and she gratefully thanked him. The next morning, Clinton sat in the living room, lost in thought. Uei came in, calling his name several times before he responded. She told him she was about to cook, but Clinton asked her to sit down. He apologized for the slap his girlfriend had given her, but Uei assured him it wasn't a big deal and that she wasn't angry. She thanked him for the clothes and money, and Clinton, impressed by her attitude, asked her out on a date. Though she initially declined, she eventually agreed after Clinton apologized for pressuring her. He was thrilled, and Uei excused herself to prepare breakfast. Later that night, Osang went to Uei's room, and they were having a romantic conversation. Uei mentioned that Clinton had asked her to go out with him, and she had accepted. Osang became immediately angry, saying she should have declined. Uei reminded him that he had told her to do whatever Clinton asked. Osang, furious, stormed out, leaving Uei feeling sad. The next morning, Clinton and Uei were ready to go out. When Osang saw them together, with Clinton holding Uei's hand, he grew very upset and lost in thought. Clinton asked him to open the door for Uei and to drive them. Though Osang followed the orders, he was bitter and on the verge of tears. On the way, Osang suddenly stopped the car, pretending there was something wrong with it. He didn't want them to go out. Uei, sensing the truth, moved closer to him, saying she didn't really want to go out either. Despite this, Osang remained angry, and they had no choice but to return home. Back home, they sat outside, chatting and drinking, while Osang, still upset, made a phone call about a failed bet. When he stepped outside and saw Clinton and Uei together, he became furious and shouted, "Bah!" With his hands folded as if he wanted to beat him up, Clinton was surprised by Osang's attitude. Osang quickly changed his expression and asked if Clinton was calling him. Clinton replied that he wasn't and sent Osang back to his duty post. Osang left angrily, standing beside his small apartment, watching as Clinton took a drunk Uei inside. Osang was really hurt. It's not easy seeing someone you love with someone else. I understand that. The next day, Uei went to Osang's room to see him, but Osang was very angry and asked her to leave. He thought she was already dating Clinton. Uei explained that nothing was going on between them and reminded him that he was the one who told her not to tell their boss they were in a relationship. But now, Osang was furious, thinking she was getting close to Clinton and using him as a second choice. Feeling hurt, he asked her to leave his room, and she left feeling bad. The next morning, Yui was outside cleaning when she saw Osang. She quickly ran to hug him, but Osang pushed her away, telling her to go to Clinton since she was now dating him. This made Yui feel awful. She tried to defend herself, but Osang didn't believe her and walked away. Later that night, Yui was in her room, lost in thought when Clinton entered, startling her. He asked her to go out with him the next morning. At first, she hesitated, making excuses about having too much work to do, but Clinton told her she had done enough and shouldn't worry anymore. With no other option, she accepted. The next morning, they went out, leaving Osang fuming. Unbeknownst to them, Bonita was secretly following them. She tracked them to their destination and caused a scene, embarrassing Clinton and insulting Yui, telling her that Clinton would soon leave her. Yui, furious, left. When they returned home, Yui was still angry. Clinton apologized, insisting that what Bonita said about her wasn't true. He confessed that he liked her, but Yui didn't believe him, saying he barely knew her. Clinton said he could prove it and held her hand, trying to take her to his room. He was trying to take advantage of her, but Yui struggled to break free. Fortunately, Osang arrived just in time and beat Clinton for trying to hurt his woman. Osang then revealed that Yui was his girlfriend and explained they hadn't told Clinton because they didn't want to get kicked out of his house. In his anger, Clinton immediately told them to pack their things and leave his house that night. Feeling bad, Yui quickly packed her things. As they were leaving, Yui apologized to Osang for making him lose his job. Osang said they should go, as he had a place for them to spend the night. However, Yui refused, suggesting they plead with Clinton for a second chance because she didn't want Osang to lose his job. Just then, Clinton came out and asked what they were still doing in his house. Yui immediately knelt down to apologize, and Clinton gave her an ultimatum. For him to accept Osang back, she would have to choose between him and Osang. Without hesitation, Yui picked up her bag, choosing Osang, and they left as Clinton locked the gate behind them. Later that night, Osang and Yui were in bed. Yui tried to apologize to him, but he didn't want to listen and asked her to leave him alone. Still, Yui held on to him, but Osang pushed her hand away multiple times before falling asleep. The next morning, Osang woke up and didn't see Yui beside him. He searched for her, and when she came in, she explained that she had gone to get something. She pulled out a small rose and apologized to Osang with it, but he didn't accept her apology. Yui told him she loved him, but Osang replied that she should go to Clinton, saying he couldn't give her a good life and didn't want her to suffer. Yui refused, saying she would stay with Osang even if he had nothing. She continued apologizing and held Osang, crying. Wow, this is truly emotional. This is real love, guys. The next morning, Osang took Yui to a beautiful house. He told her it was his friend's house, and Yui admired it, saying, "When will God give me a house like this?" Osang then told her that they owned the house. She laughed, thinking he was joking, but Osang assured her it wasn't a joke. The house was his. Yui was shocked, asking how he had gotten the money. Osang explained that he had won a 50 million naira lottery. Yui was stunned and overjoyed. She hugged him and asked if she could stay with him. Osang told her that he had been testing her loyalty and love. When he asked her to go be with Clinton because he had no money, he wanted to see if she would stay with him. And she did, proving her true love and loyalty. Yui then became emotional, asking why he would test her. She confessed that she loved him, and Osang replied that he already knew. He then asked her to follow him upstairs to check out their bedroom. Yui was really happy, and they both went upstairs. Wow, this is just the beginning of their love story, guys. Loyalty truly pays off. So, what did you learn from this amazing story? Make sure to drop your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you for watching this incredible story in my world of movies. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more interesting and captivating stories like this. See you in our next movie.